3 days later, the excavation team had made considerable progress, breaking through the outer barriers of the underground facility. The metal doors had finally yielded to their plasma cutters, revealing corridors that stretched deep into the earth. Emergency lighting flickered to life as they entered, apparently triggered by motion sensors that had waited patiently for decades. Vexitar led the expanded team through the corridors, their footsteps echoing off smooth walls lined with more of those strange symbols. The air recycling systems hummed quietly around them, maintaining a breathable atmosphere that their scanners confirmed was safe for Zephyrian physiology. Whoever had built this place had planned for long-term operation. "Captain, I'm detecting data storage systems in the next chamber," Dextar reported, his scanner beeping softly. Multiple servers, still active after all these years. They entered what was clearly a command center of some kind. Banks of monitors lined the walls, most dark, but a few still showing scrolling data in those mysterious symbols. Central workstations were positioned around the room, their surfaces covered with input devices designed for hands very different from Zephyrian claws. Zixra approached one of the active terminals carefully. The symbols on the screen were flowing past too quickly for detailed analysis, but she could see patterns in the data streams. "These systems are still processing information, Captain. Whatever they're doing, they've been doing it continuously. Since this place was abandoned, they spent hours working to interface their own systems with the alien computers. The technology was remarkably advanced, using quantum processing methods that the Zephyrians had only begun to develop themselves. But eventually, Dextar managed to establish a connection that allowed them to access the stored data files. The first breakthrough came when they found image files. The pictures showed the settlement as it had once been, bustling with activity and filled with living beings. But these weren't Zephyrians or any other known species. The creatures in the images walked upright on two legs, had hair on their heads, and skin tones ranging from pale to dark brown. "They look almost like us," Zixra observed, studying a group photo of the settlement's inhabitants. 2 arms, 2 legs, forward-facing eyes, but their proportions are different, shorter and more compact than Zephyrians. More files revealed the name of the species and their settlement. The aliens called themselves humans, and they had named their colony New Haven. The settlement had been established by survivors from their home world, a planet they called Earth. The data files contained detailed records of their exodus and the reasons behind it. Dr. Jake Morrison appeared frequently in the records as the settlement's military leader and chief administrator. The images showed a tall human with graying hair and intense eyes, always wearing what appeared to be some kind of uniform. His recorded messages spoke of preparations and defensive measures, though the specifics were often coded or referenced materials not included. In the accessible files, Lisa Grant served as the civilian administrator, coordinating the daily operations of the settlement. Her files contained detailed population records, resource allocation reports, and correspondence with other human settlements scattered across different star systems. The correspondence revealed that New Haven was just one of many such colonies, all connected by a communication network that had gone silent decades ago. But it was the scientific files that provided the most disturbing revelations. Dr. Kate Adams had led a team of geneticists working on what they called enhancement projects. Her lab notes described efforts to modify human biology for improved survival in hostile environments, increased muscle density, enhanced reaction times, improved healing rates, and resistance to radiation and toxins. Her research partner, Dr. Ben Carter, had focused on cybernetic integration, His files showed detailed schematics for implanting electronic systems directly into human nervous systems, creating hybrid beings that combined biological intuition with computer processing speed. The images of test subjects showed humans with visible mechanical components integrated seamlessly into their bodies. "This is incredible," Dextar whispered as he scrolled through file after file of genetic modification research. They were transforming themselves into something beyond their original species. The level of biological understanding here exceeds anything in our medical databases. The deeper they dug into the files, the more disturbing the picture became. The humans hadn't been conducting random experiments. Every modification, every enhancement had been designed with specific goals in mind: improved combat effectiveness, enhanced survival capabilities, increased intelligence and reaction times. They had been turning themselves into weapons. Personal video logs provided glimpses into the daily lives of the enhanced humans. Dr. Sam Walsh documented his own transformation process, recording how the genetic modifications affected his strength and speed. The early recordings showed him as a normal human, but later videos revealed someone who could bend metal bars with his bare hands and move faster than the recording equipment could properly capture. The most chilling discoveries came from the military files. The humans had detected the Zephyrian Empire's expansion long before any official first contact had been planned. Their long-range monitoring stations had tracked Zephyrian fleet movements and analyzed their communication patterns. They had known about the galaxy's major powers for decades before anyone knew about them. "Captain, look at this!" Zixra called from another terminal. She had found what appeared to be strategic planning documents. They were preparing for war, not just defense, but active military operations against multiple galactic civilizations. The files showed detailed intelligence reports on Zephyrian military capabilities, fleet compositions, and strategic weaknesses. Similar reports existed for every major power in the known galaxy. The humans had been studying their potential enemies with the thoroughness of professional spies and military analysts. But then the records became fragmented and urgent. Emergency protocols were activated, evacuation procedures were implemented, and most of the population was relocated to other settlements. The final video logs showed Dr. Morrison coordinating a frantic exodus while Lisa Grant managed the complex logistics of moving an entire population in secret. Something went wrong, Vextar realized as he watched the final recordings. They didn't leave because their project was complete. They left because something forced them to abandon this place, quickly. The last accessible files were encrypted personal messages between the leadership team. Most of the encryption was beyond their current ability to break, but fragments of decoded text revealed references to awakening protocols, contingency plans, and something called the final option. The messages carried a tone of desperate urgency, mixed with grim determination. Dr. Kate Adams's final log entry was the most disturbing of all. Her image appeared on the screen, her face showing exhaustion and worry. She spoke directly to the camera in her alien language, but her tone needed no translation. This was a woman delivering a final message, a warning or instruction for people she would never see again. "I wish we could understand what she's saying," Zixra said softly. "Maybe we're not supposed to," Vextar replied, studying the empty corridors around them. "Maybe some messages are meant for specific ears only." As they continued their exploration, they found more evidence of the humans' advanced capabilities. Laboratories that had been completely stripped of equipment, workshops that had once manufactured items beyond current galactic technology, and living quarters designed for beings that were no longer entirely human. But it was the discovery of the sealed lower levels that changed everything. Their scanners revealed vast chambers deep underground, protected by energy barriers that their equipment couldn't penetrate. The power readings from those depths were enormous, suggesting machinery that had been running continuously for decades. Warning signs in the human language surrounded every entrance to the lower levels. Even without translation, the meaning was clear. Something down there was dangerous, and the humans had taken great care to keep it contained. "Captain," Dextar said quietly, "I'm detecting life signs from the sealed areas. Faint, but definitely biological signatures. Something is alive down there." Vextar stared at the sealed entrances, feeling the weight of decision pressing down on him. The humans had left this place with obvious reluctance, sealing away secrets that they clearly felt should remain hidden. But the answers to who they were and what they had been planning lay behind those barriers. "Bring up the heavy equipment," he decided. "We're going deeper." The energy barriers proved more challenging than Vextar had anticipated. For 2 full days, his team worked with plasma cutters, sonic disruptors, and finally the ship's own mining equipment to breach the sealed entrances. The barriers absorbed incredible amounts of energy before finally flickering and failing with a sound like breaking glass. Beyond the barriers lay corridors that dwarfed anything they had seen in the upper levels. The ceilings stretched 20 meters high, and the walls were lined with machinery that hummed with quiet power. Emergency lighting activated as they entered, revealing a facility that seemed to stretch endlessly into the depths of the planet. "The scale of this is incredible," Dextar whispered, his scanner working overtime to map the layout ahead of them. "These lower levels are larger than our entire ship. How did they build all this without anyone detecting it?" They moved deeper into the facility, passing laboratories that made their own technology seem primitive by comparison. Genetic sequencing equipment lined entire walls. Quantum computers processed data at speeds that made their own systems look like children's toys, and biological containment units glowed with soft blue light behind transparent barriers. Zixra approached one of the computer terminals and managed to establish another interface connection. The data that flowed across her screen made her twin hearts race with excitement and terror. "Captain, these files, they're not just about enhancing humans anymore. They were creating entirely new species." The research logs revealed the true scope of the human project. Dr. Sam Walsh's team had moved far beyond simple genetic modification into the realm of completely redesigning human biology. The files showed detailed plans for humans adapted to underwater environments, beings that could survive in the vacuum of space, and soldiers engineered specifically for combat against different alien species. "Look at this," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "They have complete biological profiles for Zephyrians, including detailed analysis of our physiology, psychology, and combat capabilities. They knew exactly how to fight us before we ever knew they existed." Each laboratory specialized in different aspects of the enhancement project. One facility focused on increasing human intelligence, creating beings with processing speeds that rivaled computer systems. Another worked on physical modifications, producing humans with strength that could crush metal and speed that made them nearly invisible in motion. The most disturbing facility was dedicated to what the files called biological warfare integration. The research here had focused on turning the human body itself into a weapon, Enhanced humans who could produce toxins through their skin, beings whose blood carried engineered viruses designed to target specific alien species, and soldiers who could survive in environments that would kill any natural life form. Dr. Ben Carter's cybernetic research had reached levels that bordered on the impossible. His final prototypes showed humans whose nervous systems had been completely integrated with quantum computers, creating beings that could process information at superhuman speeds while maintaining all their biological intuition and creativity. "Captain," Dextar called from across the laboratory, "you need to see this." He was standing in front of a massive transparent wall that looked into what appeared to be a storage facility. Rows upon rows of cylindrical containers stretched into the distance, each one glowing with soft light and connected to complex monitoring systems. Most of the containers were empty, but several still showed active status on their control panels. "Cryogenic. Storage," Zixra breathed, reading the data from her scanner. "These are suspension units designed to keep biological subjects in perfect stasis for extended periods." They found the control room for the storage facility, and Vextar felt his blood run cold as he read the status displays. Over 300 storage units had been active when the facility was abandoned. Most had been emptied during the evacuation, but 27 still contained occupants. The biographical files for each stored individual made for terrifying reading. These weren't ordinary humans waiting for revival. Each subject had undergone extensive genetic and cybernetic modification. Enhanced soldiers, engineered scientists, and hybrid beings that pushed the boundaries of what could still be called human. Unit 17 contained Dr. Alex Turner, former head of military operations. His biological profile showed modifications that had increased his height to over 2 meters, enhanced his muscle density by 300%, and integrated combat optimization programs directly into his nervous system. The file noted that he had volunteered for every available enhancement procedure. Unit 23 held Maria Santos, a combat engineer whose modifications focused on technical expertise and battlefield survival. Her enhanced nervous system could interface directly with any computer system, while her modified physiology could function normally in environments that would kill baseline humans within minutes. Rick Hayes occupied Unit 12, an enhanced human, designed specifically for long-term independent operation. His modifications included enhanced intelligence, improved social analysis capabilities, and biological systems that could survive on minimal resources for extended periods. "Captain, these aren't just enhanced humans," Dextar said as he read through more files. "They're weapons. Living weapons designed to operate independently for decades if necessary." The control systems showed that the storage units were designed for automatic revival under specific conditions. Power failures would trigger awakening protocols, as would certain types of external interference or the passage of predetermined time periods. The humans had built multiple safeguards to ensure their enhanced soldiers would eventually return to activity. More disturbing were the psychological profiles. Each enhanced human had undergone extensive mental conditioning to ensure absolute loyalty to their mission objectives. They had been programmed to wake up ready for war, with complete knowledge of galactic civilizations and detailed plans for how to fight them. "Look at this," Zixra said, pulling up another file. "They have detailed intelligence reports on every major galactic power, fleet compositions, technological capabilities, strategic weaknesses, even psychological profiles of key leadership. Figures. They were preparing to fight the entire galaxy." The facility's deeper levels revealed even more secrets. weapons manufacturing areas that had produced devices beyond anything in the current galactic arsenal. Communications equipment capable of sending messages across the galaxy without detection, and most chilling of all, evidence that New Haven had been just one node in a vast network of similar facilities scattered across dozens of star systems. Tony Clark's file described him as a weapons specialist whose body had been modified to serve as a living arsenal. His enhanced physiology could synthesize various toxins and chemical compounds, while his modified bone structure contained integrated weapons systems. The psychological profile noted his enthusiasm for combat and absolute dedication to human supremacy. The research files revealed that the enhanced humans weren't intended to fight alone. They were designed to work as coordinated teams, with each individual's modifications complementing the others. The files described tactical scenarios, where small groups of enhanced humans could defeat entire fleets through coordinated sabotage and infiltration. "Captain, I'm detecting power fluctuations in the storage area," Dextar reported, his voice carrying a note of concern. "Our excavation equipment may have caused some kind of system disruption." Vextar felt a chill run through his body as he realized what that might mean. The storage systems were designed to revive their occupants if the facility's systems were compromised. Their investigation might have triggered the very protocols the humans had established to protect their secret weapons. They rushed back to the storage facility and found warning lights flashing throughout the complex. Several of the active storage units were showing increased activity, their monitoring systems displaying data streams that suggested revival procedures were beginning. "Can we stop it?" Vextar asked desperately. Zixra worked frantically at the control systems, but the human technology was too advanced and too well protected. "Negative, Captain. The revival protocols are hard-coded into the systems. Once triggered, they can't be interrupted without destroying the storage units entirely." The first unit began its final revival sequence, and Vextar watched in horror as the transparent lid started to open. Inside, a figure that had once been human began to stir. Enhanced muscles moved with fluid grace, and eyes that held intelligence far beyond baseline human capacity opened to focus on the alien intruders. Dr. Alex Turner sat up slowly in his storage unit, his modified senses taking in everything around him with inhuman precision. When he spoke, his voice carried the quiet confidence of someone who had been expecting this moment for a very long time. "Hello," he said in perfect Zephyrian, his enhanced vocal cords producing their language with flawless pronunciation. "We've been waiting for you." The star wind drifted through the void like a silver needle threading through black cloth. Captain Vextar stood on the bridge watching the stars, his 4 arms crossed behind his back in the traditional Zephyrian pose of contemplation. The exploration mission had been routine until now, charting dead worlds and empty systems on the outer rim of known space. 3 months of scanning barren rocks and frozen gas giants had made his crew restless. "Captain," Communications Officer Zixra called from her station, her voice carrying that particular tone that meant something interesting had finally happened. "I'm detecting an energy signature from the 4th planet in this system." Vextar turned, his large black eyes focusing on the readouts streaming across the holographic displays. The planet designated Kepler 442c hung on the main screen like a blue-green marble, its surface covered in thick clouds and dense forests. According to their initial scans, it should have been completely lifeless. "What kind of energy signature?" Vextar asked, moving closer to examine the data. His elongated fingers danced across the control interface, pulling up detailed sensor readings. Artificial. Definitely artificial, Zixra replied, her excitement growing. The patterns are too regular to be natural phenomena. There's something down there, Captain. Something built. The bridge fell silent except for the soft humming of the ship's systems. Finding artificial structures was rare enough, but discovering them on an uncharted world was the kind of thing that made careers in the Exploration Corps. Vextar felt his twin hearts beating faster as he studied the energy patterns. Are the signatures consistent with any known galactic civilizations? He asked, though he already suspected the answer. Negative, Captain. The energy patterns don't match Zephyrian technology, and they're not consistent with any of the other Council species either. This is something completely unknown. Navigator Kexalon looked up from his charts, his scaled head tilted in curiosity. Captain, according to the Galactic Database, this system has never been visited by any Council ships. We're the first official expedition to chart these coordinates. Vextar considered their options. Standard protocol called for long-range observation and detailed scanning before any surface missions. But the energy signatures were strong enough to suggest a significant technological presence. And if there was an unknown civilization down there, first contact procedures would need to be followed carefully. Take us into high orbit, he decided. I want full-spectrum scans of the entire planet's surface. If there's a civilization down there, we need to know what we're dealing with before we announce ourselves. The Star Wind descended toward the planet, its sleek hull cutting through the upper atmosphere as the crew conducted their scans. What they found made no sense. The energy signatures were concentrated in a single location beneath the northern forest canopy. But there were no signs of current habitation, no energy patterns consistent with active cities, no communication signals, no spacecraft traffic. It's like finding a lamp that's still burning in an abandoned house, Zixra muttered as she analyzed the readings. The scans revealed structures beneath the forest, geometric shapes too regular to be natural formations. But vegetation had grown over most of them, suggesting they had been abandoned for a considerable time. Yet the energy signatures remained strong and steady. Captain, Science Officer Dextar spoke up from his station. I'm detecting what appears to be landing platforms in a clearing about 2 kilometers from the main structure cluster. They're overgrown but still intact. Vextar made his decision. Prepare a reconnaissance shuttle. I want a small team on the sea. Surface for preliminary investigation. Zixra, Dextar, you're with me. Standard survey equipment and full environmental suits. An hour later, their shuttle descended through the thick forest canopy toward the ancient landing platforms. The platforms were made of some kind of metal that had resisted corrosion despite decades of exposure to the elements. Strange symbols were etched into their surfaces, symbols that didn't match any language in the Galactic Database. They landed with a soft thud, and the 3 Zephyrians stepped out into the humid forest air. The platform was surrounded by towering trees with broad leaves that filtered the sunlight into shifting patterns of green and gold. But it was the structures visible through the trees that captured their attention. Buildings rose from the forest floor, their architecture unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. The designs were both elegant and practical, with smooth curves and clean lines that seemed to flow naturally into the landscape. But vines and moss had claimed most of the surfaces, giving the entire settlement an air of ancient abandonment. These buildings are definitely artificial, Dextar confirmed as he ran his scanner over the nearest structure. The materials are some kind of advanced composite, probably stronger than our own hull plating. They moved deeper into the settlement, their footsteps muffled by layers of fallen leaves. The buildings seemed to have been constructed with great care, each one positioned to take advantage of natural features like streams and rock formations. Whoever had lived here had clearly understood their environment well. "Captain, look at this," Zixra called from near what appeared to be the settlement's central plaza. She was standing next to a tall post covered in symbols and markings. Vextar approached and studied the post carefully. The symbols were carved deep into the metal and filled with some kind of durable paint that had survived the years of weathering. There were multiple different symbol systems represented, as if whoever had made this wanted to communicate in several different languages. "Can you translate any of this?" he asked. Zixra shook her head. "Nothing matches our linguistic databases. But the pattern suggests these are warning markers or information posts of some kind. See how they're positioned at regular intervals around the settlement perimeter." They continued their exploration, finding more evidence of the mysterious builders. Gardens had once been carefully cultivated, but were now overgrown with wild plants. What appeared to be workshops and laboratories sat empty, their equipment long since removed or fallen into disrepair. Everything suggested a planned evacuation rather than sudden disaster. "Captain, I'm getting stronger energy readings from that." "Direction?" Dextar pointed toward a cluster of buildings near the settlement's center. "Whatever's powering these signatures, it's coming from underground." They made their way toward the energy source, passing more warning posts and abandoned structures. The forest seemed to press closer here, as if nature was actively trying to reclaim this space. But beneath their feet, the ground hummed with subtle vibrations that spoke of active machinery. Near the center of the settlement, they found what appeared to be an entrance to underground facilities. Heavy metal doors were set into artificial hillsides, and the energy readings spiked dramatically as they approached. More warning symbols surrounded the entrance, these ones seeming more urgent than the others they had seen. "These symbols are different," Zixra observed. "More aggressive in design, more threatening." Vextar studied the entrance carefully. The metal doors were sealed tight, but his scanners detected vast spaces beyond them. Whatever lay beneath the settlement was larger than what they could see on the surface. "Captain, I'm detecting trace atmospheric readings from the sealed areas," Dextar reported. "The composition is unusual. High oxygen content, specific gas mixtures that don't match this planet's natural atmosphere. As if the underground areas are designed for a different type of life form," Vextar mused. They spent the rest of the day cataloging what they found, taking detailed scans and photographs of everything. The settlement was clearly the work of an advanced civilization, but one that had vanished without explanation. The warning markers suggested they had left deliberately, but the underground energy signatures indicated that something was still active beneath their feet. As the sun began to set through the forest canopy, painting the abandoned settlement in shades of gold and shadow, Vextar made the decision that would change everything. "We're going to need excavation equipment," he told his team. "Whatever's down there has been waiting for a long time. I think it's time we found out what we're really dealing with." The enhanced human called Alex Turner rose from his storage unit with movements that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Despite having been in cryogenic suspension for decades, he showed no signs of disorientation or weakness. Instead, he moved. With the fluid grace of a predator, every gesture precise and controlled. Vextar and his team instinctively stepped backward as Turner stood to his full height of over 2 meters. The human's physical modifications were immediately obvious. His muscle structure was far more developed than baseline humans in their database. His skin had a subtle metallic sheen that suggested integrated defensive systems, and his eyes held an intelligence that seemed to process everything around him at superhuman speed. "Please don't be afraid," Turner said, his Zephyrian pronunciation perfect, despite the fact that no human should have been able to speak their language. "I understand this must be quite shocking for you." Zixra's scanner was beeping frantically as it analyzed Turner's biological signatures. "Captain, his cellular structure is unlike anything I've ever seen. The genetic modifications run so deep that he's barely recognizable as the same species as the baseline humans in our database." Turner noticed the scanner and smiled, the expression somehow managing to be both reassuring and terrifying. "Your equipment is quite impressive. We studied Zephyrian technology extensively during our preparation phase. I'm pleased to see that our intelligence reports were accurate." "How do you know our language?" Vexitar asked, fighting to keep his voice steady. "How do you know anything about us?" "We've been monitoring galactic civilizations for over 2 centuries, Turner replied, beginning to walk around the storage facility with casual confidence. "Your expansion patterns, your technological development, your social structures. We know more about the Zephyrian Empire than most Zephyrians do." As they spoke, other storage units began their revival sequences. Warning lights flashed throughout the facility as enhanced humans who had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. Turner watched the process with obvious satisfaction, as if everything was proceeding according to plan. "I should explain the situation," Turner continued, his tone remaining conversational despite the growing tension. "My name is Dr. Alex Turner, and I was the military operations coordinator for Project Renaissance. That was our designation for the enhancement program that created us." The second storage unit opened to reveal Maria Santos, the combat engineer whose file they had read earlier. Like Turner, she showed no signs of disorientation from her long sleep. Instead, she emerged from her unit and immediately began examining the Zephyrian equipment with professional interest. Plasma cutters, sonic disruptors, quantum scanners. She noted aloud, her enhanced senses apparently capable of analyzing their technology at a glance. Standard Zephyrian exploration equipment, but modified with some interesting improvements. "You've been busy since our last intelligence update." "You were expecting us," Vextar realized with growing horror. Turner nodded approvingly. "Not specifically Zephyrians, but we knew that eventually someone would find this facility. The warning markers around the settlement were designed to attract curious, technologically advanced species, races that would have the capability to breach our security systems and trigger the revival protocols." Rick Hayes emerged from his storage unit, immediately alert and focused. His modifications were less obvious than Turner's, but his enhanced intelligence was evident in the way he rapidly assessed the situation. Within seconds of awakening, he seemed to understand everything that had happened. "How long were we dormant?" Hayes asked Turner. "Approximately 47 years based on the decay patterns in the upper facility," Turner replied. "Well within acceptable parameters for the mission timeline. More enhanced humans were awakening now, each one displaying capabilities that defied normal biological limitations." Tony Clark stepped from his unit and immediately began examining the facility's security systems, his modified nervous system interfacing directly with the computers through some kind of biological connection. "All primary systems are functional," he reported. "The facility's defensive capabilities are at full operational status." Dextar had been quietly scanning each enhanced human as they awoke, and his readings painted a terrifying picture. "Captain, Each of these individuals shows biological capabilities that exceed our combat personnel by orders of magnitude. Their strength, speed, and reflexes are beyond anything we've encountered. Turner overheard the comment and addressed it directly. We were designed to be superior to baseline galactic species in every measurable way. Enhanced strength and speed were just the beginning. We also possess improved intelligence, extended lifespans, disease immunity, and integrated weapon systems. Weapon systems, Zixra asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to hear the answer. Maria, Santos demonstrated by extending her hand toward a piece of metal equipment. Her fingers elongated slightly, revealing what appeared to be organic structures that could function as tools or weapons. Biological adaptation, she explained. Our bodies can reconfigure themselves for different tactical situations, Tony Clark showed similar modifications. His enhanced physiology apparently capable of producing various chemical compounds. A small sample of liquid appeared on his fingertip, and when he touched it to a piece of scrap metal, the material began to dissolve. Targeted. Biological acids, he explained casually. Effective against most known materials and biological systems. Each of us carries different specialized capabilities. More enhanced humans continued to awaken, and Vexatar began to understand the true scope of what they had stumbled into. These weren't just modified humans. They were living weapons, each one designed for specific combat roles and equipped with capabilities that made them incredibly dangerous. Amy Foster emerged from her storage unit and immediately began coordinating with the others. Her psychological modifications were apparently focused on leadership and tactical analysis. Within minutes of awakening, she had assessed the situation and begun organizing the group according to some predetermined plan. Status report, she requested from Turner. 27 successful revivals, all enhanced personnel showing full operational capability. Turner replied with military precision. Contact established with Zephyrian exploration team. No hostile actions detected, but standard protocols are in effect. Foster turned to address the alien visitors directly. I apologize for any confusion this situation may be causing. We understand that discovering us must be quite shocking. Please allow me to explain what you found here. She moved with the same enhanced grace as the others, but her modifications seemed focused on communication and analysis rather than pure combat capability. When she spoke, her voice carried an authority that commanded attention. This facility was established as part of humanity's long-term survival strategy, she began. We knew that contact with galactic civilizations was inevitable, and we wanted to ensure that humanity would be prepared for whatever that contact might bring. You were preparing for war, Vextar accused. We were preparing for survival, Foster corrected. Our analysis of galactic politics indicated that new species typically face one of three fates when they encounter established civilizations. They are either conquered, absorbed, or eliminated. We decided to create a fourth option. Rick Hayes had been examining their equipment and communication systems, his enhanced intelligence apparently capable of understanding Zephyrian technology at a glance. Your exploration protocols are quite thorough, he noted. I assume you've already transmitted preliminary reports to your command structure. The question sent a chill through Vextar. Their ship had indeed been sending regular updates to Zephyrian High Command, including reports of their discovery. By now, the Empire knew about the abandoned human settlement and their investigation of the underground facilities. Yes, he admitted. Our findings have been reported through standard channels. The enhanced humans exchanged glances, and Vextar realized they were communicating through some method his team couldn't detect. Their coordination was perfect, as if they shared a collective intelligence while maintaining individual personalities. That accelerates our timeline somewhat, Foster noted. We had hoped for a longer period to assess the situation before revealing ourselves. Tony Clark approached one of the facility's communication arrays and began interfacing with it directly. His modified nervous system apparently allowed him to control the equipment without using conventional input devices. "I'm detecting multiple Zephyrian communication satellites in this system," he reported. "Standard exploration fleet deployment pattern. Should I begin jamming protocols?" "Not yet," Foster decided. "We want to give our guests the opportunity to understand the situation fully before we take any definitive actions." Turner moved closer to the Zephyrian team, his massive frame somehow managing to seem both threatening and reassuring at the same time. "You need to understand that what you've discovered here is just one small part of a much larger operation. New Haven was one of dozens of similar facilities scattered across the galaxy. Each facility contains enhanced humans like us. Maria," Santos added, "individuals modified for specific roles and equipped for long-term independent operation. We've been sleeping, but we haven't been idle. The 18 hours passed like a countdown to galactic catastrophe." Vextar and his team spent the time in their shuttle, ostensibly conducting routine surveys while actually engaged in the most important debate of their lives. The enhanced humans had given them freedom to move around the settlement, but everyone knew they were being monitored by beings whose capabilities far exceeded normal understanding. Dr. Alex Turner appeared at their shuttle ramp exactly 1 hour before the scheduled communication deadline. His massive frame filled the doorway, but his expression remained calm and patient. Behind him, Maria Santos and Rick Hayes waited quietly, their enhanced senses apparently tracking every conversation and movement within the shuttle. "Captain Vextar," Turner said politely, "I hope you've had sufficient time to consider your options." "We have," Vextar replied, though his voice carried none of the confidence his words suggested. "But before we give you our answer, I need to understand something. What happens to us after we make this choice?" Turner stepped into the shuttle, his movements careful to avoid seeming threatening despite his intimidating size. "That depends entirely on which choice you make. If you decide to maintain our secret, you return to your normal duties and we return to ours. This facility goes back into dormancy, and we wait for a more opportune time to reveal ourselves. And if we report the truth," Zixra asked, "then you become witnesses to the most significant moment in galactic history," Maria Santos answered from the doorway. "You'll have front-row seats to humanity's return to the galactic stage." Rick Hayes activated a portable communication device that projected a holographic display into the shuttle's interior. The image showed the galactic map they had seen earlier, but now the markers were pulsing with activity. "All enhanced human facilities are currently in standby mode," he explained. "They're waiting for a single command transmission that will determine whether they continue waiting or begin active operations immediately." Turner's enhanced features showed something that might have been regret. "Captain, I want you to understand that we don't enjoy putting you in this position, but the decision you make will affect the future of every species in this galaxy. How can you be so certain that revealing yourselves will lead to war?" Dextar asked. "Perhaps the galactic community would welcome humanity's return?" Santos laughed, but the sound held no humor. "Because we've been studying galactic politics for over 2 centuries. We know exactly how established powers react to potential threats. The Zephyrian Empire, the Andromedan Collective, the Centauri Federation, They all follow the same pattern when dealing with unknown capabilities: fear, investigation, and then elimination or absorption, Hayes added. It's the standard response to any species that might challenge the existing power structure. Turner moved to the shuttle's viewport and looked out at the forest surrounding the settlement. We've watched it happen to 17 different species. Over the past century, each one was discovered, evaluated, and then either conquered or destroyed. We decided that humanity would not suffer the same fate. But you're talking about holding the entire galaxy hostage, Vextar protested. We're talking about ensuring mutual respect, Turner corrected. The enhanced humans scattered throughout the galaxy aren't there to conquer worlds. They're there to demonstrate that humanity cannot be dismissed or eliminated. Amy Foster appeared at the shuttle entrance, her leadership modifications apparently allowing her to monitor multiple conversations simultaneously. Captain, may I share something with you that might help you understand our perspective? Without waiting for permission, she activated another holographic display. This one showed historical records of humanity's first attempts at interstellar exploration, centuries before they had developed enhancement technology. This was the generation ship New Horizons, she explained, pointing to images of a massive vessel carrying thousands of human colonists. It was launched toward the Proxima Centauri system in 2157. The colonists were ordinary humans, looking for a new world to call home. The display showed the ship arriving in the Proxima system and beginning colonization efforts on the second planet. For several years, the colony thrived and grew, sending regular reports back to Earth about their progress. Then the Andromedan Collective found them, Foster continued grimly. The Andromedans had claimed that system centuries earlier but hadn't bothered to colonize it. When they discovered human settlements on what they considered their property, they demanded immediate evacuation. The final images showed the systematic destruction of the human colony. Andromedan ships bombarded the settlements from orbit while ground forces eliminated any survivors. The New Horizons was destroyed trying to evacuate civilians. 8,000 men, women, and children, Foster said quietly. Murdered because they had the audacity to settle on a world that someone else had claimed but never used. The official Andromedan report listed it as clearing an unauthorized infestation, Turner added, his enhanced voice carrying cold anger. That's when humanity realized that we would never be safe until we were strong enough to defend ourselves. Rick Hayes displayed another series of records showing similar incidents with other galactic powers. Human trading vessels seized by Zephyrian, patrol fleets, scientific expeditions eliminated by Centauri military forces, and diplomatic missions that simply disappeared without explanation. By the time we developed enhancement technology, we had learned that the galaxy had no place for weak species, Santos explained. So we decided to make sure that humanity would never be weak again. The enhanced humans had surrounded the shuttle. Now, but their positioning seemed protective rather than threatening. Vextar realized they were demonstrating their capabilities while also showing restraint. The choice we're giving you is the same choice we want the galaxy to make, Foster continued. Accept humanity as equals, with all the capabilities that entails, or face the consequences of trying to eliminate us. Turner returned to the center of the shuttle and addressed Vextar directly. Captain, your people have a reputation for being pragmatic. You understand military realities better than most galactic species. You know what 15,000 enhanced humans could accomplish if they decided to act aggressively. You could destabilize entire governments, Vexatar admitted reluctantly. We could do far more than that, Santos said bluntly. Our infiltration capabilities, combined with our enhanced physical and mental abilities, would allow us to cripple galactic civilization within months if we chose to do so. But that's not what we want, Hayes emphasized. We want to prevent that scenario by demonstrating our capabilities under controlled circumstances. Foster moved closer to the Zephyrian captain, her enhanced features showing genuine sincerity. Captain, we're not asking you to lie to your superiors. We're asking you to help us prevent a catastrophe. If you report this facility as abandoned, we continue our gradual integration strategy, Turner explained. Enhanced humans slowly reveal themselves over decades, building relationships and demonstrating value to galactic society. No wars, no sudden shocks to the political system. If you report the truth now, we're forced to reveal ourselves simultaneously across the galaxy, Santos added. 15,000 enhanced humans appearing overnight in every major system. The psychological impact alone would trigger panic and military responses. Either way, humanity returns to the galactic stage, Hayes noted. The only question is whether that return happens gradually or all at once. Vextar looked at his team, seeing the same impossible weight of decision in their faces. They held the future of galactic civilization in their hands, and either choice carried enormous consequences. What guarantee do we have that you'll honor your word? He asked finally. How do we know you won't activate your people anyway, regardless? Of what we decide, Turner's enhanced features showed something that might have been respect. Because we're still human, Captain. Enhanced and modified, but still driven by human values and ethics. We want to coexist with the galaxy, not dominate it. But we also want to survive, Foster added with quiet intensity. And we've learned that survival in this galaxy requires strength that cannot be ignored or dismissed. The communication deadline was approaching rapidly. Vextar could feel the weight of history pressing down on him as he prepared to make the choice that would determine whether humanity's return to galactic prominence happened through gradual integration or sudden revolution. Captain, Turner said softly, whatever you decide, please remember that we gave you a choice. That's more than the galaxy gave those 8,000 colonists on Proxima Centauri. As Vextar prepared to transmit his report to Zephyrian High Command, he realized that the age of galactic exploration had indeed ended. What began now would depend entirely on whether the galaxy was ready to accept that humanity had not only survived, but had evolved into something far more dangerous and capable than anyone had imagined. The enhanced humans waited patiently as he composed his message, their collective presence a reminder that some secrets were too powerful to remain hidden forever. Whether revealed gradually or all at once, humanity's return would reshape the galaxy in ways that no one could fully predict. The only question remaining was whether that transformation would happen through cooperation or conquest.